Sam Adeyemi is renowned worldwide for his expertise in leadership development, strategic business consulting, personal transformation, and nation building. With a doctorate in strategic leadership and over 2 decades of experience, he has inspired individuals, organizations, and nations to navigate leadership challenges and create lasting positive impacts in their communities and industries. Pastor Sam, as he's well known, is the senior pastor of Daystar Christian Center, founded in 1995. It has grown into a community of over 40,000 members with a thriving international audience, living out its vision of raising role models. It instituted transformative institutions such as the Daystar Leadership Academy, where more than 40,000 members have been trained in practical leadership principles, and the Daystar Business Academy, equipping entrepreneurs with the strategies needed to thrive in local and global markets. He convenes this annual Excellence in Leadership Conference, ELC, which attracts top international thought leaders to share forward-thinking leadership strategies. A productive author, Sam Adeyemi's works, including Parable of Dollars, The Power of Vision, and Dear Leader, have shaped the personal and professional journeys of countless readers nationwide. His weekly Excellent Leadership broadcast reaches millions across continents with actionable insights on leadership, innovation, and success. He advises Fortune 500 companies, small to medium enterprises, government officials, and institutions, guiding them through innovation, adaptation, and exceptional leadership in today's fast-evolving global landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the Excellence in Leadership Conference our host and first speaker, Sam Adeyemi.
The innovative leader. Every car today has the belt, right? Safety belt. It was not always the way it is now. We call it the 3-point safety belt. It was not always like that. Okay? It used to be just across the waist. It used to be just across the waist. But then they discovered that even though in the event of a crash, it restrained people, it also created problems. Because the force of the car, the movement of the car, would throw the body forward. Now, when this belt held the person down, it destroyed internal organs because of the force. And this wonderful gentleman, Neil Bobbin, a Swedish engineer who had been certified as a mechanical engineer, then worked with an aircraft company, and he was now working at the safety division of Volvo, the car manufacturer. He was the one, that innovated, because as an aircraft engineer, he had learned to study the distribution of forces on the body when the body is involved in a crash. So he was the one that introduced this one that came across the chest. So that when the body is involved in a crash, the belt transfers the force to the rib cage. And the rib cage, of course, provides protection for the organs that are in there. And that belt saves a lot of lives every year. Now that's what innovation is about. It's about improvement, right, on what is already existing. There is invention, there's creativity especially. Creativity, brings about something that has not been in existence, but innovation actually takes what is already in existence and makes it usable, uses it to solve a present problem. So to innovate means to make changes in something established, especially by introducing new methods, ideas, or products. And that's from the Oxford Languages Dictionary. To make changes in something established especially by introducing new methods, ideas, or products. Innovation is simply finding solutions to problems. That's what Volvo did. To the credit of Volvo, right? To the credit of Volvo, Volvo gave the patent to all other car manufacturers for free. It's amazing. I mean, they could make money every single time this system was installed in the car. But they just realized this is something that is useful for humanity. There is no need to control it. And they gave the patent out for free. Why should we innovate? Why should we innovate? Because we have problems. There are problems in our world. There are present problems in our world. We have needs, we have challenges in our world. We have physiological problems, right? We need food. We need food. We have the need, we have the challenge of hunger. We have the challenge of thirst. We have need for shelter, right? So we have needs for this body. We have needs for clothing, right? To cover our nakedness. We have so many needs in our world. We have need for transportation. We have social problems. We have social problems. Wherever you put, if you have one person, just that one person has problems. Then when you put two people together, the problems multiply. They're not added, they multiply. You know? So we have social problems. And then you have 50 people, you have 100, you have 1,000, you have 1,000,000. We have social problems, right? We have relationship problems. We have economic problems. We have psychological problems. We have emotional problems. We have spiritual problems. We have political problems, right? So the existence of problems is what establishes the need for innovation. The fact that we've just got to be able to rearrange things, to put things together in order to create solutions for the problems that we have. We also need to innovate because it is the way to thrive in the world. It's the way to thrive as the world changes, right? It's the way to thrive as the world changes because the world changes. And as the world changes, it throws up new problems. Yeah? New problems show up every single day. So if you remain the way you've been, you continue to think the way you've been thinking, you continue to do things the way you've been doing them, the likelihood is you just find yourself in the wrong place. It's the way to continue to thrive as the world changes. We also need to innovate because it boosts productivity and revenue. So when you run an organization or whatever it is you do for your work, your productivity is tied. Your capacity to add value, to solve problems is tied to innovation. It's something you literally have got to be able to do every day, right? So your productivity and your capacity to generate revenue is tied to your capacity to innovate. And then it helps us to extract great value from our resources. Now, this is very important. Innovation helps us to extract great value from our resources. And I tell you, there is phenomenal value in the resources around us in our world. Phenomenal value. At an extreme end, you have the mineral resources in the soil, like we have crude oil in Nigeria. Without innovation, the crude oil will be totally useless. You can't drink it. You can't use it to cook. You can use it to bathe, right? Without innovation, we never would have been able to extract the things that we get out of crude oil, including petrol, the PMS, the diesel, the kerosene, even plastic chairs, right? And several other products. Without innovation, what would we do with the cotton on the fields? We have to be able to innovate to produce textile materials. What would we do? The skin is on the back of cows. Without innovation, we would not have gotten any shoes, right? So innovation is what helps us to extract the value from the resources around us. I remember in the early days of Daystar, when we decided to check what are the needs of the people in our community. It was a turnaround that we did, right, in the leadership of the church, turned the focus on the people. We said, who are the people that live 5 kilometers radius of our church? What are their needs? And poverty came number one, which shouldn't be a surprise, right, in Africa. Poverty came number one. Then we asked ourselves the question, okay, so how have we been addressing the poverty problem as a ministry? Okay, let's look at our preaching. And I found out the only thing I had been preaching with respect to finances was giving. Instantly, it was obvious that that was not the first solution. It's part of it, but that was not the starting point because these people did not have the money in the first place. And then that shaped my prayer point. It's amazing. It influenced my prayer point. So the next thing then was for me to say, okay, Lord, is there anything in the Bible I can teach them that will help them to get the money? Okay, so and now that brought innovation to the preaching, right? That brought innovation to the preaching. But where I'm going is, I saw 2 Kings chapter 4, a widow whose husband was owing so much money, but then he died. And the creditors came, they wanted to take the 2 sons to be slaves. And she ran to the prophet. What I found amazing was that the prophet asked her, woman, what do you want me to do for you? Before she could answer, he fired the second question. Tell me, what do you have in the house? She said, your handmaid has nothing except a small jar of oil. He said, okay, that's what we're looking for. Now you run back home, you go to your neighbors, you borrow empty barrels. He said, don't borrow a few. Get as many as you can, put them in your house. Close the windows. He said, then take that small jar of oil and pour the oil into those big barrels. She complied. And the moment she turned the big barrel, the jar into the big barrel, there was a miracle flow of oil. Well, I realized God was not asking me to go tell everybody to go borrow jars of oil and pour oil. But I saw principles in there. And the first one was this. God will never allow you to get to the point where there's nothing around you that he can use to move you to the next level in your finances. That was the message I brought to the church. I titled it, Start with What You Have. If you're going to be innovative, you've got to have that basic belief system. Since then, that's the basic belief system that drives my thinking. My blessing is not far from me. There's something around me. There's something. Oh, by the way, very interesting story here. I shared that story on radio, on Success Power. There was a lady that was listening to me on radio, and she had absolutely nothing. Her children had gone to school, and there was nothing to give them for lunch. She was just wondering what she was going to do. And then she heard me speaking on radio. And I was saying, God will never allow you to get to the point where there's nothing around you that he will use to move you to the next level of breakthrough in your finances. And in that instant, she heard someone outside saying, bottles. You know, there are some of those people that move around buying used bottles. And our eyes just fell on the crate of soft drink bottles. Right there by her. She just grabbed the crate, ran outside, sold it, and then wondered what she was going to do with the money. Just remembered an uncle of hers. And she just went to go meet that uncle. Things are very difficult for me. Right? My children, I don't even know what to give them for lunch. The uncle said, no problem. What do you want to do? Is there anything you can sell? She said, yes, I have a business idea. He said, how much do you need? She said it. He just hold on. He went and counted the money cash and gave it to her. Everything started from something around her. So innovation helps us to extract the value from the resources around us. You know, that's The major difference, again, in the biblical story, the major difference between Esau and Jacob. When you pay, if you really want to enjoy the Bible, just put aside the narratives that they've told you since you were a child and read it yourself, okay? Because once I mentioned that name, already some people were already here. Esau was the good guy. That Jacob guy was a bad man. That's what they told us, right? It's when you pay attention, and the idea they give you is that Jacob was a very lazy guy that did not like to work, just liked to laze around the house. But when you pay attention, you will find out the two of them dealt with animals. Esau was a hunter. Jacob was also into livestock farming. To eat, Jacob will run into the bush and he killed an animal before he could eat it. Jacob stayed at home and used his brain better. Instead of running around, if I take the male of this one and take the female of this one and get them to mate, they will produce another one for me. And my capital will still remain. So even if I eat, I will still have the original ones left. And they can produce 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, right? What Jacob did was innovation. I don't want to go too far into a story, but when you read it, you'll be amazed at the amount of innovation he brought into livestock farming, okay? So innovation helps us to extract great value from our resources. It has been said, I'm not sure of how accurate it is right now, but with just about 10% of the world's population, Africa has about 40% of the mineral resources. So the moment somebody says Africa is a poor continent, you just know it's a lie. It cannot be. With only 10% of the population, but 40% of the mineral resources, come on. So, but you will see what is absent. The ability to extract value from those resources. The sad thing is that, like Esau, if you don't roast or process, right? Solomon said that in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 27. He said, the foolish man or the lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting. So once there isn't that processing, right? He says he's a lazy man. But how do you call him a lazy man? He actually went into the bush and killed an animal. Solomon said he's lazy. What Solomon is describing as laziness is not physical exertion. It is mental exertion. Okay? Good. Innovation helps us to carve a niche. It helps us to carve a niche, right? Whatever business you're in, if you are innovating, they will soon recognize you as a unique problem solver. So innovation helps us to carve a niche, helps us to build a brand, to establish a brand, and helps us to have an edge over competition. If there ever was a time to innovate, that time is now. There's so much uncertainty and change in our world, and there's a lot of disruption going on. We're having new social, economic, cultural, and political challenges. They all need innovative solutions. Right now, our families need to innovate. Am I right? At least every Nigerian will understand that. Am I right? When it comes to buying food in the house, we need innovation. Innovation with the sources of protein and other things like that. Our families need to innovate. Our organizations need to innovate. Our communities need to innovate. Our nations need to innovate. Nigeria needs to innovate. Africa needs to innovate. Our world needs to innovate. I don't have much time. My job is just to lay the foundation. Good. So let me describe what I describe as the foundation for innovation. Just 2 thoughts. The foundation for innovation. The first one, you must really care about people. You must really care about people. There's something we call innovation for innovation's sake. So it's not really that you care about anyone that you are solving problem for anyone is just that since you are an ideas person, you just like to play around with innovation. We don't need that now. We need to do innovation for the sake of people because there's a lot of suffering going on in our world. The foundation for innovation is love. Yes. You rarely hear that word in a leadership discussion, but we have to bring it back because leadership is about people. Leadership is about people. You must really care about people. You've got to really, really care about people. I define love as the ability to recognize and celebrate value in another person. And I draw that from John chapter 3, verse 16 in the Bible. For God so loved the world that he gave. You know, the tough part, the reason why we don't want to use the word love in leadership circles is because of what musicians do with the word love. Because when you say love, romantic love. I'm sorry. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. God was not feeling romantic. That was not romantic. That was sacrifice. Yes. Recognizing value in another person. Every human being is an extension of God. Man was created in God's image. Man is the most valuable asset on this planet. Treat him like that. Treat her like that. The most valuable asset on this planet. And usually when I have the opportunity, I explain how Jesus Christ gave us a template for what will happen the day everyone appears before God to get an assessment of the lives that we lived. In Matthew 25 from verse 31. And he said that on that day, God would look at some people and say, go away. I was hungry, you did not feed me. I was thirsty, you did not give me water to drink. I was naked, you did not clothe me. I was sick, you did not visit me. And those people would argue, Lord, it's not possible. You, God, it's not possible that I will see you hungry and not give you food. It's not possible. And God will say to them, as much as you did not do it to any of the list of these people, you did not do it to me. He will tell some people, oh, enter into the joy of your Lord. I was hungry, you fed me. Even they would argue, when did I see you hungry and feed you? God, he would say, no. As much as you did it to any of the list of these people, you did it to me. So I said, one plain thing that will happen on that day is that people will discover that they met God, but they did not recognize him. Whatever God must deserve, never give it to a human being. When you look at man from that prism, and you then appreciate the phenomenal value of man, you will never treat a human being with indignity again. The second thing is you will observe gaps in their lives. Why should someone so valuable not have food to eat? Right? And then what does that do? It motivates you to give. Right? So the first proof of love is giving. So, and we're saying that is the foundation for innovation. That's why we create solutions. Because man does not deserve to be destroyed. Man deserves the best. When you look at us as humans, you realize our most valuable item, our most valuable asset is time. That's one asset that is irreplaceable. Once it's gone forever. Good. So whatever your job is, can you find ways to save people time? Somebody came to your office to get something. This thing can be done in 15 minutes, but they stay for the whole day. I know, because when we say innovation, we may be thinking of how to invent spaceships like Elon Musk. Let's leave that one. Let's start from the basics. Sometimes business people say, time is money. I say, no, time is more than that. Well, yes. The basic principle is time is a convertible resource. So you can convert it to money, yes. You can convert it to other things. You can convert it to a loving relationship with your spouse. Okay? You can convert it to good parenting, giving attention to your children. Time is a convertible resource. But then I ask people the question, if we took time out of your life right now, let's say you're 40 years old, and we took time out of your life, what would be left? Nothing. Because the 40 years is time. Yeah, so your time is your life. That's why Dr. Miles Monroe said, killing time. He said, oh, I was just doing it to kill time. He said, killing time is not murder, it is suicide. So if you could do it in 15 minutes, you kept the person for 8 hours, you wasted part of the person's life. There are a lot of simple innovations we could do like that. When I drive in the US, I come to a road junction. Some of them don't have any traffic lights. All they have is a stop sign. I have never seen any of them locked down. Because the simple rule is you move turn by turn. You move turn by turn. You know, the way you arrive at that junction. So the first set, when they get there, they start that routine. This person moves, so you pay attention to those that got there before you. When it's your turn, you move. I have never, as simple as it is. So if you really care, those things may sound simple, but to me they are the measure of love in the society. Period. Doesn't matter how much we preach about love, but that's the measure, how we treat one another. If we love, we will innovate to make life easy. You can also ask yourself, how can you save people money, right? It was in order to save time that the British invented the queuing culture. Yeah, they pride themselves in the fact that they invented the queuing culture for the whole world. Showing respect for each person. The person who got there before you, show respect for the person's time by waiting your turn, right? But then you find out when it is organized, everybody actually moves faster. Yes. The second point in the foundation for innovation, you must value the human mind and ideas. You must value the human mind and ideas. You must value the human mind and ideas. If you've been in Esau's company, you got to switch to the Jacob company. The equipment that God gave us is the mind for recognizing value and for extracting it. You've got to accept. The first dimension to this innovation thing is attitudinal. You've got to accept that you are a co-creator with God. It's not for nothing that it says you are created in God's image. You have the capacity to bring into existence things that have never existed before. And several ELCs ago, Dr. Mensa Otabil was sharing with us from Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And he said, that command, be fruitful, the only understanding we got to it was that we should give birth to children. And he said it is more than that. That when a person originates an idea, we call it the person's brain child. So he said, we've been creating children, but we've not been creating what the children will eat, right? So, and the world pays you in proportion to the value of your brain children. Where are your brain children, right? You've got to accept that you're a co-creator with God. Secondly, you've got to accept that God gave you an equipment for innovating, and it's your mind. Your physical body is your mind's instrument for collecting data from what is happening. We think it's the eyes that see, but no. It is actually the mind that uses the eyes to see. We think it's the hand that feels. No, it is the mind that uses the hand to feel. Because when light enters your eyes, there are nerves there that take the information to your brain. It is actually your brain that says a color is yellow, or blue, or red. It's the brain, right? So your brain uses your body to collect data and interprets the data. Your brain uses your imagination to explore the intangible. And I say that your imagination is your opportunity to overcome your limitation. Because when it comes to your imagination, you have no limits. You're not limited by time. You can live in the past, you can live in the future. You're not limited by space. You can travel thousands of kilometers in a fraction of a second. In my imagination, I can decide to eat lunch or brunch with King Charles. Now. Yes, London. The amazing thing is that the mind stands in between the intangible world and the physical world. And it is our opportunity for converting intangible realities into physical realities. If you are going to innovate, your imagination has got to be active, and your mind has got to be able to process, create plans and strategies, and then you execute and bring things into the real world. So this is what we've come to realize. It is when you change your thinking that you change your life. Let me tie it up this way. All cultures in our world do not value the mind the same way. And you need to be sensitive to the culture from which you evolved. This is where the leadership dimension to innovation comes in. Right? This is where the leadership dimension to innovation comes in. So not only are we asking you, or are we proposing that you innovate, we are proposing that you influence innovation, because this is a leadership conference, right? Yes. I wrote an article in Forbes magazine some time ago, and it's titled 7 Steps for Fostering Innovation in Your Organization. I discussed different ways you can create the environment for innovation to flourish. Let me quickly mention some of the things that I wrote in that article. Then I'll come back and land on this issue of culture and value for the human mind. So if you lead a group of people and you want innovation to be part of your culture, you need to provide guidance. You can't just say, innovate. Innovate what? Define the problem that we're solving. Next, set the example. Be a thinker. Read, study, generate ideas, right? Next, encourage ownership. Encourage ownership. Okay? In the members of your team, let them own the vision. Let them own the vision. Delegate, empower, bring people in. It's our, not mine. Next, find hidden gems. Find hidden gems. Look at the people on your team. Everyone is gifted. Everyone is a genius. I don't believe there's a human being on this planet that is not talented. We just have this narrative that has been created that a few people are created to be geniuses, the rest of us are spectators. No, it doesn't work like that. You've got to see the genius. Find the genius in your team members, right? Next, celebrate diversity. Celebrate diversity. They're going to be different. That difference is the strength, or those differences, they are the strength of a team. If you have 8 of you on the team, all 8 of you have exactly the same temperament, the same skills, the same mindset, you will have perfect peace. No arguments in your meetings. Everybody thinking the same way. One person starts a sentence, another person completes it. Perfect harmony. Who will not like that kind of a team? The only thing is, 7 of the people there are useless. It is those different perspectives that will save you from calamity or catastrophe or destruction. Yeah. So the fact that, yes, sometimes you have all the men on the team thinking the same way until a lady speaks up. Different perspective altogether, right? So instead of having, that's going to create some little bit of friction or conflict, but you should actually celebrate it, that you have different people on your team. Next, embrace failure. Embrace failure. Allow people to make mistakes. When we were in school, they took us into the laboratory. Whatever it was we did, they said it was experiment. Did you notice they gave us only small quantities of those powders, powdery substances, or the liquids? Who does experiment with large quantities? You want to burn down the lab? But they said it was experiment. Why is it that we grow into adults and our capacity for experimenting shrinks? And we want things to work out perfectly the first time. Life does not work like that. Practically anything that is meaningful required quite a bit of trial. So allow people to try, fail, make mistakes, because it moves us closer to the solution. Embrace failure. Act on great ideas. This is important. So when people contribute great ideas, don't let your ego get in the way. Sometimes I used to feel funny. Oh my God, powerful idea. Why didn't it come through me? Leave that one. That's why we're a team. Come on. I'm tempted to go in the area of the family, but let me leave it. Act on great ideas. Okay? Examine leadership styles. Leadership styles are different. People are different. Allow people, as long as they are not being destructive, to show their specialty, right? And then pay attention to hierarchy. Especially if you evolved right here in Africa, you know that our societal structure is patriarchal. It's patriarchal and hierarchical. There is power distance. The powerful are very powerful. The powerless are very powerless. In this time, we went against it, headstrong. Why? Because Jesus Christ said in Mark 10:42 to 45, you know that among the Gentiles, their rulers lord it over them, but among you, it shall not be so. Anyone who wants to be leader among you should be servant. So he asked us to go countercultural. That's how we were having a meeting just after we moved into this place. And then the discussion came about we were buying chairs, and then we came to the chairs of the pastors. Then somebody said, but this is Daystar, right? This is Daystar. So why should we actually be sitting on chairs that are different from that of the church members? And everybody said, that's true, So we agreed. That's how we removed the thrones that we were sitting on. Okay? I'm not saying that where they have special chairs for pastors that it is wrong, because there's also room for having honor. Just talking about our own values here and how we applied the values to our reality, right? The challenge with the hierarchical thing is that the voices of the people at the lower level are never heard. And usually they're the ones in direct contact with the customers. They're the ones in direct contact with the problems, right? So when you are creating your powerful, innovative ideas up there, sometimes you just miss the mark completely because you're not solving real problems. Okay, so let me shut it down here by reading a verse from Paul the Apostle. 1 Corinthians 11, 22 to 24, Message Bible. 1 Corinthians 11, 22 to 24. While Jews clamor for miraculous demonstrations and Greeks go in for philosophical wisdom, we go right on proclaiming Christ the crucified. I'll stop there, actually. That's what I'm looking for. Two ideological foundations that drive our world. One part of the world believes in the supernatural, the miraculous. The other part values logic, the use of the mind. Believes that our world is controlled by nature, is controlled by principles, and is curious to find out what those principles are. It's amazing that you would capture in one verse like that those two foundations. The Jews seek for science, they seek for the miraculous. The Greek, they want logic. It's amazing. So the part of the world that values the supernatural, miraculous like that. That's why massive emphasis on prayer. That's what we leverage to solve problems. That's where our innovation explodes. And then most of our results are in the invisible world. And you find those parts of the world usually very weak in solving physical problems. If you don't understand the principle, it will limit your creativity and innovation. It is when you understand the laws of motion, you understand the cause and effect when it comes to motion. That's when you'll be able to design a bicycle and move on to motorbike and move on to motor car. When you understand the laws of lift or aerodynamics, then you can create an aircraft. Massive thing like that, weighing like 30-story building or 10-story building, sailing through the sky, thousands of miles and coming gently in another part of the world. I've not seen one that was flown by prayer. They were flown by people that went to flying school. If I board a flight and the pilot says, "Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this is flight so and so and so from Lagos to London. The amazing thing here is I never went to flying school, but I tell you I am gifted for this job. And I have prayed. I wish you a safe flight. I will break down the door." You said what? You did. Die alone, okay? Don't bother me. So you have the part of the world that values logic. Yeah? And they innovate. And what they innovate, the rest of the world has to buy. But this is what thrills me about this passage of Scripture. Paul the Apostle is saying, people don't know that those two exist in Christ. They don't recognize it. My concern is that the culture that you are raised in influences the aspect of God that appeals to you. So if you are raised in the culture that values the miraculous, then it is the power side of God, the miracle side of God that appeals to you. If you are raised in the part of the world that values logic, that's the part that appeals to you. You want God to make sense. Paul says the two are in God. So shouldn't we appeal to the part of the world that values the miraculous? That we should also explore the wisdom side of God. And that the side of the world that values wisdom should also explore the power side of God. Is that fair? You read there, the Jews seek for the miraculous. The amazing thing is that the Jewish nation of today has left us behind. Yeah, somebody gave me a book a few years back, Startup Nation. That's the title. You'll be amazed. Most of the technology in most of the gadgets used and the things you use were innovated in Israel. So the Israel of today is not the same as the one that was described there. The one of today values innovation. My prayer is that while you are here at this conference, God will give you a breakthrough idea. My prayer is that by the time you leave, you will have an idea of the next step to take. My prayer is that this conference will mark the end of stagnation. That there will be massive shifts in our lives as individuals, in our families, in our organizations, and in our nations by the grace of God. At the last session, we'll be praying together because it's real serious business, right? Please don't miss it. I also have a very special announcement later this afternoon. Please watch out for it. So, help me to tell the person sitting close by, if you're here physically or you're part of a watch party, it's my pleasure to be sitting next to you at ELC 2024. So welcome to ELC 2024.